You know, often in life, we forget that the victory is really in the struggle and not the triumph. And struggle is very important for character and personal growth. You know, I have not talked to my man, Billy Carson, in quite some time. And so when Aaron told me that Billy was joining us today, I just felt a light. How are you doing, my man? It's so good to see you.
It's great to see you again. Thank you for having me back. And I'm amazing, man. I'm fantastic right now.
Let's talk about the thing that people have to always learn to deal with in life is struggle, which means the difficulties and the challenges that come in life that's unexpected. But it's these things that define us, define our character, and literally makes us who we are.
Oh, absolutely. The struggle, it builds character. When I was a young kid, I grew up in abject poverty. 2 pairs of pants, holes in my shoes. We used to connect the water hose to our neighbor's house without letting the neighbor know, to take baths in the backyard because we didn't have running water at times. Taking fruits off of neighbors' trees, just real hardcore struggle. Now, for some people, it would give them the mindset of acquiescing to this reality and saying that's our reality. But for some people, fortunately like myself, instead of having PTSD, we developed PTG, post-traumatic growth. I knew from a young age that this wasn't going to be my outcome. I didn't accept that reality. And I used all the struggle that I went through throughout my entire life as a foundation to build a ladder to climb out of the hole.
Talk about why it matters to have integrity. My father and mother always taught us growing up that no matter what you do in life, you should always be moral, legal, and ethical, because if you have shortcuts, you get there, but it just won't last.
Oh, absolutely. You hit it on the head. I mean, integrity is a huge part of what you have to be about if you want to really succeed at a high level and maintain consistency. When you do things behind the scenes, where you're not forthright, when you're trying to be, a person that's kind of deceiving, what happens usually is you actually shortcut your abundance. You shortcut it because what you're telling the universe, what you're telling God is that you don't believe in abundance. You don't believe that there's enough out there. So in order for you to access this abundance, you're going to have to shortcut it, be deceiving, lie, cheat, steal, whatever it takes. And in those cases, a lot of those people live very unhappy lives. They're literally not happy, and they're suffering. And in most cases, they fall right back down to ground one.
And why is it so important to understand that life is a journey, not a destination? You may have this microwave mentality, I want it now, but true success is something that you work at every day, and it comes over a lifetime. There are no shortcuts to it.
Absolutely. People these days, they want the instant gratification, instant success. They look at me and they see all the things I've been able to accomplish, and they think I just woke up a few weeks ago and boom, here I was. But they didn't see from 30 years ago, taking little tiny baby steps. The motto for me is make a little bit of progress every single day. No matter what it is, progress, just a small step. And when you look back years from now, you'll see how many miles you've walked. And so people need to understand it's a real journey out here, and you have to have faith and trust in the journey. A lot of people, as soon as they get the first stumbling block or the roadblock or the blind side or the hurdle, they collapse. They collapse under depression. They go right back to square one, and they say, I just can't do it, so they give up. But the people that become the true leaders are the ones who overcome those hurdles, because we see hurdles as problems that need to be solved.
And you've always struck me as someone that never followed the crowd, because following the crowd doesn't mean the crowd is right. Sometimes you have to carve your own path to your eventual destiny and the things that you want to become in life. And sometimes you just have to be a lone wolf.
Yeah, I had to be a lone wolf for a very long time. I remember reading a book years ago. It was a book on the Hopi tribe, the Hopi Native Americans, and it said that in the future, it was a Hopi prophecy, in the future, the world will be connected by a World Wide Web, and information will travel to and fro instantaneously. And I said to myself at that moment, if I can live long enough to see that day, the world is going to hear my voice, because this alternative path that I'm on, I have no way of going to my neighbor, my friend, even a family member to speak these things, but through this connectivity, I may be able to. And I remember the first day I found out about the World Wide Web, it was 1997, And I just realized I lived to make it to this point where I can utilize this new technology that's going to shrink the planet to get my voice out. And I took advantage of it.
You know, I find it fascinating that your brand is forbidden knowledge. Why do you call it? Because there's a deeper meaning to forbidden,
Yeah.
but you're not saying F-O-R, you use in the numerical forbidden knowledge. Elaborate on that and the deeper meaning.
Yeah. Well, the 4 is actually a double entendre because I'm born on the 4th of September, so I'm a 4. But then also 4 for the the 4th dimension, which is what they call a tesseract in quantum physics and supersymmetry, a hyperdimensional cube. And from that perspective in the universe, you're able to see the past, present, and future all at once. So because I'm putting together forbidden knowledge, I'm grabbing facts from all these different time frames, and I'm connecting the dots to paint a better picture of what may have happened in the past and what may happen in the future.
Billy Carson is back in the house. This is the Armstrong Williams Show. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be back with much more. Welcome back. Billy, you and I both are in the global media business, and we send out information, and people trust that our information is well researched, factual, because obviously the media has suffered such credibility with the population that people have turned to social media for their facts, and that is not always the best alternative. And so it brings me to how has the rise of disinformation and misinformation changed the role and responsibility of independent platforms like ours? And do you believe that the average person today is equipped to discern truth from propaganda and indoctrination?
Wow. Great question. This is a question I love because right now you're right. There is so much fake news floating around on the internet. There are literally dozens of accounts using my image with me from previous podcasts and shows like yours, and the words are actually made from AI, and they're saying something totally different than what my mouth is saying. My mouth doesn't even match the words, and they're saying the most outlandish things. And when you go to the comments, the people in the comments, they believe it. They're commenting about whatever was being said as if it was real. And I'm going, they were deceived by the most cheesiest, low budget, fake, deep fake. But I'm just one of hundreds, maybe even thousands of deep fakes floating around with so much propaganda and fake news and lies. And now I see news feeds that look like they're like yours or CNN or something. But what's happening is they're fabricated AI stories with an AI voice that sounds like a news reporter, and they're making up these outlandish stories. So it's going to be very hard for people to learn how to discern this information properly because the average person doesn't take time to listen, think, and even research what they're listening to or reading. And we have to really educate on our platforms a little bit more like, hey, guys, make sure you're vetting a lot of the information. That's why I tell people, don't believe what I say, research what I say.
Let me ask you, this is fascinating. How do people, when they're watching this, what are the tools for them to vet immediately, at least to give them an uneasy feeling that maybe this is not really Billy Carson?
Yeah, I think a good way to do it, first of all, go to my verified accounts. All of my accounts, and I have a lot of accounts, they're all blue check verified. I don't have any unverified accounts. That's the first thing. So if it's coming from an account that's not verified with a very small number of followers, it's obviously most likely not my account. The second thing is you could take some of the key words and phrases from some of the information you just heard me supposedly say or someone else say, and now you have ChatGPT. Now, ChatGPT is not 100% accurate. Keep that in mind. But if you ask it for source material and official source links, it will provide those. So then you can go do some research and accumulate 5 or 6 main source links to verify or validate some of the information.
How dangerous and threatening is this new chapter?
Oh, it's really damning, man. I mean, well, first of all, for some people, our intelligence is spiking and rising through the roof. But for the masses of people, because people are mostly lazy, the intelligence is dropping, the IQs are dropping. And the next generation and generation after is going to be very telling if we don't change our educational system to move it around really building real comprehension of knowledge versus just relying on a piece of technology to give us all answers and all information and never learning how to solve any problems on our own. It could put the human civilization in a very bad spot within the next 10 years. We have to learn how to get around this hurdle.
Now you're saying something. They want them to be uneducated, ignorant, not being able to differentiate, not having common sense, not having the tools to navigate because it works to their advantage, but to their destruction.
Yeah, it gives them the ability to keep the divide between the two classes. They only want extremely poor and extremely wealthy, nothing in between. So if people are walking around like mindless automatons or, NPCs, non-player characters in a video game, but no real idea or concept of what's really going on in the matrix, just living off a program code and what they're told to do, then they'll be good worker bees at whatever it is they do, or maybe not even work at all because rely on the universal basic income whenever that comes out, because a lot of the automation and AI is going to take over. So those people will be extremely impoverished while there'll be people at the top that'll be extremely wealthy.
What tools or habits would you both recommend, let's say, for developing sort of a firewall against this new trend that's going on in this country, especially in today's digital age? And looking ahead, is there anything that's out there that pushes back on it that people should be aware of it?
Yeah, well, the first thing is people need to get back into learning about research. And if somebody says, I don't know how to do any real research, well, that's because you haven't tried to do any real research. And now you even have more tools to do real research. Instead of using ChatGPT and Google to give you the answers, use ChatGPT and Google to show you how to come up with the solution to the problems and the answers so that you get some comprehension, and study and research that, and then try to duplicate some of it on your own. If you do something like that for 15 minutes a day, 5 days a week, you'll be 90% ahead than everybody else on the planet just doing that. So learning how to do your own research is key. Investigation is key. Comprehension is key. Getting old-fashioned books, picking up a real book and sitting down and reading a book the old-fashioned way is also a very good idea.
When we come back, I want to use this same argument about how people are being exploited, but also how you can use this new technology, this new era that we find ourselves in, to bring about conflict, to bring about famine, to bring about wars, to bring about destruction. I mean, because all of us think that sometimes that what we're watching, what we're hearing is exactly what it is, unless we find out otherwise. But by the time we find that out, can you imagine the damage and what we could unleash by the time we get to the facts? That's on the other side of the conversation when we return with Billy Carson.
It is easier to build up strong children than to try and repair broken men.
The streets are plagued with crime, violence. There's a lot of poverty, and it's all a result of lack of education that's happening in our schools. So it really is a crisis.
We come from very different political perspectives, but we've come to the same conclusion, and that is there is a crisis in the classroom. Children are being deprived of quality of life because they're being deprived of a good education. We must solve this problem. It's incumbent upon all of us to join hands together to get this done.
We can't afford to wait one more day before we address these issues, because every day we lose another child.
Let's stop the politicking. Let's stop the games. Let's really do something to give these kids a real chance at life and being a part of that American dream.
We need accountability for funding. Many of the districts where you're seeing very low test scores, students graduating with very low literacy and math comprehension rates, they are receiving a lot of funding. So where is the money going where our kids aren't being adequately educated?
If you believe every child is deserving of a quality education, please go to educationjusticefoundation.com. So, Billy, talk about how this could trigger global confusion, global conflict, and global disaster.
Well, one of the biggest problems we have with this new era of AI technology and these new videos that are being made purely by AI, they can be anyone saying anything, doing anything, anywhere. They can give you the illusion of police brutality. They can give you the illusion of a war going on where there could be possibly no war, or at least war crimes that are happening during a war that haven't really happened. There's so many things that get be implemented to show you a falsehood of what's really happening, to trigger a response from a country, from a government, from a local city, to trigger the response of the people to go on a riot. Imagine having a particular video come out of another, a police brutality where they put their knee on someone else's neck, right? And you know what happened there. So this is deadly because we don't have any parameters. There's nobody stopping this. And they could put anybody's face on that body, and the people, the majority of people, will believe it instantaneously. And can you imagine? People will take to the street rioting instantly. So this can create a lot of problem, wreak a lot of havoc around the world.
Let us tap into your forbidden knowledge. What's your best wisdom on how people can build resilience?
Well, the first thing, this is why I started my Forbidden Knowledge Academy. I just launched it 2 days ago online, my Forbidden Knowledge. I want people to come in there. In there, I'm teaching people how to understand all the truth about technology, the truth about who they truly are, how powerful they are, how to see through the matrix, through this illusion that's been placed upon us, through the media, through the prison system, and through all these government systems that are here, how to understand your place within it and how to navigate it based on the breadcrumbs that they themselves leave behind for themselves to navigate through this matrix and make the right decisions, and evade situations and problems. And just to become more self-aware, not only of yourself on the inside, but also around you, to be aware of everything that's going on and all of the manipulation tactics that are trying to take over your life and dominate your consciousness.
How does one become more creative and resourceful? Because, that is really a weapon in your arsenal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, the first thing is people have to realize that they do have power. I think that most people feel like they have no power, no say-so whatsoever. They've acquiesced and given all their energy to outside sources, polytricksters and everything else. I really believe that once people understand fully that the power is inside of them, the power to what? The power to recognize who they are, that the divine energy of God is in their body, in every atom in their body, and we are creating everything. I think if people can begin to remember that we created everything in this third dimension that appears to be man-made. So everything that we look at is conscious thoughts. This microphone was a thought in somebody's mind, and then it manifested into reality through manufacturing. So everything that's around us that looks like it's solid is actually made from thoughts. And so we have conscious thoughts that manifest into reality. And if we can do that, then we can do anything. But we have to collaborate. We have to come together and get rid of the divide and conquer tactics, work together as a civilization to uproot the evil that has been placed upon us and all the deceit, and then say, hey, guys, we want to renegotiate what's happening out here. We want a better deal for us and our civilization. If we can do that, at some point we will, this will be a much better place to live.
While this may be few, why is it so important for people to develop deeper and more meaningful relationships with a select few? Why is that so important to success and stability?
Well, first of all, you're going to be the income of the top 5 people you're around. You'll have the body weight of the top 5 people that you're around. I mean, you can just look at the stats on that typical experiment. So you want to put people around yourself, either in person or virtually, that are on the same frequency as you, right? Like I said, that's why I made the academy, the Forbidden Knowledge Academy, because people will be in there with thousands of people that are thinking the same. In there, what we're looking for problems, but not just to talk about problems. We're saying, okay, now, How do we collectively find solutions to these problems? That's the big pivot. And once we can pivot that way and realize, get on the same frequency as people, find your tribe. And when you find your tribe, don't become a crybaby. Don't be a worrier, be a warrior and learn how to solve problems. And if we have more people out here learning how to become problem solvers versus crybabies, this planet will change overnight.
Forbidden knowledge. Billy Carson's in the house. We'll be back.
As a home buyer, you need a lender who cares about your home ownership dreams. United Security Financial has been helping families secure their dream homes for 30 years. We're a national fair practice lender that provides affordable mortgages and low down payment programs to eligible home buyers. To learn how United Security Financial can help you secure your dream home, call 1-800-373-4186.
You know, Billy, it's just so good to see you back on, because, you know, I know you've had, as we all have had some setbacks, but people don't understand, you're so much more than your setbacks and your struggles. There's so much more to Billy Carson than the criticism. I mean, you've built a legacy, you've built forbidden knowledge, you've empowered so many people, you made a difference on so many levels, and that does not change. Just because someone have an issue, that's just one aspect of that person's life. We have the tendency that when someone doesn't meet our expectations, all of a sudden the media tells us we should move on, because that situation defined the entire body of works of that person. And that is so shallow in this country.
Yeah. Oh, that's a fact. I mean, we live in a cancel culture. And fortunately for me, you know, forbidden knowledge, what I built here is an international phenomenon. And I'm not forbidden knowledge. Billy Carson is not forbidden knowledge. Forbidden knowledge is the 10.5 million people that are following my platforms collectively. I don't even call them followers, I call them leaders. I have 10.5 million leaders. So when one is attacked, another light bulb pops up. And when that light bulb runs out, another light bulb pops up. So you can't stop forbidden knowledge. It's everywhere at all times, and it's nonstop. So yeah, people will criticize you, people will come at you, but you know what I learned is that all part of the rise. When you're doing something right, you're gonna find this balance of hate and love that's gonna come at you. And the larger you get, the more the hate's gonna rise, but also the more love is gonna rise as well. And I've seen more love than hate. And I take situations and I understand perspectives now a lot better, now being officially a public figure. And I recognize things like how to respond to situations, how to act within situations, how to be out in public and so forth. But I take these particular things that people call L's, I take them as L's for learning, not losses. And since some criticism that I had last year for about 3 months, I've accelerated like you wouldn't believe. I put my foot down on the gas and exploded and accelerated far beyond where I was just even 6 months ago. And so it's a really exciting time to be alive, because I proved to myself I can jump over one of the biggest hurdles I ever had to face in my life and get through that.
Let me just remind you of this. If you're not doing anything, they have nothing to attack. At least you're in the arena where your face is marred with sweat, blood, and tears. Unlike most people that will never get in the arena, they will never know victory nor defeat. That's the small price you pay. If that's the price we have to pay, I say more power to you, brother, because you're doing something right. Because if you're not, they would not be attacking you. That comes with the territory. Thank you so much for joining us. Wish you well. Thank you for coming back. And we look forward to more conversations in the future with forbidden knowledge. I'm Armstrong Williams. Out of here. Out of here.